you got OCD, you got OCD. You know what I'm saying? You got it, you got it. You got it, you got it, babe. Trinnov. I'm about to run some calibration stuff on the Trinnov to get set up for my new ATC 45A speakers in the back. I'm excited, about to plug in the calibration microphone from the Trinnov. These 4 go into the inputs on the Trinnov, and the outputs on the Trinnov are going to the speakers. So the Trinnov is the bridge between either your interface or your monitor controller and your speakers. The Trinnov is the bridge. It's in the middle. So no matter what, when you're doing calibration, it's just between the microphone and the speakers. So that's why these are the inputs for this microphone that has these crazy capsules on it. And that goes directly into the inputs of the Trinnov, and then the outputs on the Trinnov. In my case, I'm just calibrating for the ATC 45s. So I don't have to worry about 3 and 4. It's just channel 1 and 2 into the ATCs. If you had a sub, you'd put that into 3, and then you'd have to set the Trinnov to allow for the sub. But if you just use the preset that comes on the Trinnov, it's called Bulletin preset, that one resets everything to just be a stereo left and right channel. And that's what I did, because all I'm doing is a stereo left and right. So first step, these are all labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we got to go into 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the Trinnov. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. You may notice the back of my Trinnov is actually facing me. That's because I've done this many times before, and what I realized is one of the things I do most often is calibrate the Trinnov. And what a pain it would be if these connections were underneath the desk in a ridiculous place to get to. So instead, the Argosy Dual 15, because it's so hard to get to some of these connections, they make a slot on the other side with rack rails so you can put things mounted backwards for stuff like this that you have to get to and you don't want to crawl around under the desk. This is what you would do. So I just plan on covering these top things with a couple more of these like blank face plates, and you won't ever know it's there. And then if I ever need to get to it, I'll just pop the face plates off and it's right there, easy plug in and out. Because I plan on calibrating the Genelecs, the ATCs, you know, I plan on trying a few speakers. So like, I'm going to need to be doing this over time. And if I move my desk, if I want to try a different position, I'll need to do it again. So the amount of times you want to crawl under the desk is got to be eliminated to a bare minimum, if you ask me. Let's get this thing into position. So you want this, basically put your chair where it would be. Now for me, this is about exactly where I sit. It's right between the speakers, a couple inches away from the armrest. Now this thing, I literally scoot all the way up to the back, and I already have it at my height. This is the setting I have set on the stand for my height. And when I say my height, I mean where my head is when I'm in this chair is exactly the ear level is right slightly above these bottom capsules. Because if I sit up straight, it'll be perfectly, you know, still in play. And then if I am where I typically sit, I'm still kind of right above these bottom capsules. There's 4 capsules in this thing. So the other thing you want to make sure is that you are dead centered. You know, use like sights. You want to set it up where this front mic and the back mic are directly centered. And, you know, I close one eye to do it like I'm aiming. But then I come over here and there's a dot on the front of the mic, and you want to just kind of make sure that that is centered. Now this looks pretty centered to me. So the other thing you may want to do is clear extraneous stuff off the desk, like this manual for the ATCs. Anything that's not going to typically be sitting on your desk, you might as well take off, because you just want to sort of minimize reflections. You know, so anything that's typically not on your desk, I would remove, or at least get out of the way, like somewhere that's not going to be reflecting. So at the moment, for me, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. All right, now, this keyboard I keep around because this controls my Trinnov, and the mouse here controls the Trinnov. Like, that's what that separate screen on the desk is. I don't know if you can see it from there, but there's a separate screen. If I lower this, you'll be able to see it. See that screen back there? That's for the Trinnov. So that's how you control the calibration. That's how you get everything going. So for now, I'm just going to put that in there, just sort of minimizing reflective surfaces as much as possible. There's several steps to getting this thing in position to work. The very first that you should do, actually, let's start over. Go to presets and then select bulletin preset, which basically zeroes everything out to nothingness, okay? So I click bulletin preset. Now that takes me back to nothing, all right? Now, my second step is I go to optimizer settings. Now, when I said bulletin preset, that's just, it gives me a left and right factory configured, like standard setup. Now, optimizer settings, okay, then you go to calibration. Then over here, you'll notice it'll say configure. And now configure, it'll say calibrated no, but when you click configure, you need to make sure your mic is selected because some of the mics have a different frequency curve. And if you don't select the right mic, it won't be right once you get it calibrated. So make sure that the name on the back of your mic, mine says, you know, V9 2870. Make sure that that's in here for mic name V9 2870. If you don't have that going, you're messed up from the jump. So you get that, then it'll say calibrated no. Okay, so once you're set here, all you have to do is like put in some kind of measurement name, and in our case, that's why I needed this keyboard here. In our case, for the measurement name, I'm going to put the date of the measurement because I know that I measure things quite often, and the last thing I want to do is have to remember what my measurement was. So I click OK after I put in my new name. Now you hit calibrate. Now, but the first thing to remember also is this thing won't work unless you take off this glass capsule part. This must be removed, all right? Make sure the mic is off first. You hit calibrate. It'll tell you starting calibration. Please turn on the microphone and press OK. Now, before we do this, I just want to go back for 1 second. Make sure you're set to approximately negative 20 dB or more, like negative 25 dB. You could even negative 30 dB if you want. If you have this set at 0, it's going to be super loud and it may mess up your speakers. There's volume buttons at the top left, up and down. It says plus and minus. Make sure it's negative 20 dB. That usually works for me. I've calibrated a few different systems. Negative 20 is a good number, but negative 25 is also okay. Negative 30 is also okay. If it's too low, it'll tell you to turn it up. And that's really all you have to worry about. So I'll do negative 20. Now I come over here. I hit calibrate. It's going to say starting calibration. Please turn on the microphone and press OK. I check one last time and make sure I'm dead centered. That looks pretty dead centered between the speakers. It says starting calibration. Please turn on the microphone and press OK. Now, this is something I do. Maybe I'm the only one. I get down, you know? If you ever heard Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, get down again. You got to get down out of the way. Maybe I'm the only one who does this, but I literally hit the button and I duck under the desk to keep from interfering with the measurement, because that's the last thing we want is to interfere with this measurement. Here we go. Ready? Reflective surface out of here. Here we go. Let's get these out of here too while I'm at it. Let's do it. Ready? Jamming. Let's do it. It tells you to turn off the microphone and press OK, so we do that. It'll say calibrated yes. You basically are good to go now because it has calibrated the measurements, but you must first hit the compute button or it's all over for you. So you hit compute, and when you do, you hit compute, gear cogs, you know, the cog wheel starts doing its thing, and then when it's done, it'll say done. Now, I date these things because as time goes on, you move your desk, you may redo things, and what will wind up happening is when you don't do it for a while, the last date is the one you've been using. So it just makes it easy for me to remember which one, so I don't have like setup, you know, 1, setup 85, setup 30, you know, like setup facing the long way, setup the short way. It just makes it easier to just date them, I found. Computation finished. Please note that the system is muted. Okay, so now my microphone's off because if it wasn't, you could get feedback, and that's not good. So computation finished. Please note that the system is muted. Okay, now once you have that setting, you literally then have to come into the preset section and decide where to put it. I'll just put it in this preset 28, which is empty. I'll click. It says preset name. We're going to put the same thing I just put. Now we come over to the preset itself that we want to put it on, which in my case will be this one, and I'm going to hit save. So save. Now it's there. Now when I click on it, it brings up the preset we just set up for it. So that is how you set everything. We need to save it in the presets because if we don't, it won't be right here, ready to rock and roll. I hope that helped. If anybody needs help with the Trinnov stuff, you know, feel free, reach out. But I got to tell you, there's not a ton of videos on it, but it's because it's relatively straightforward. You know, now that you got this set up, all you do is pull these out. So keep in mind your system's muted, but we would basically pull these microphones out. We get this out of the way. And we plug in what we had before. So for me, the way I put my cable so I can remember where everything is, I put on the left what goes on the left, on the right what goes on the right. So this one on the left is the first channel here, the input. Now, that's the output from my playback device, like my monitor device, which for me is the Latte DA. It's the JCF Audio Latte. If you're curious, I use the auxiliary out setting because Josh Florian recommended using that because it doesn't have the step-up output transformer that is on the balanced out. So it's better for monitoring as a result. Now, 1 and 2. Now, these 3 and 4, what these are here is actually my RME UFX 3. The mic pre's on the Latte share the same circuit as the DA for the Latte. So you cannot use the mic pre's and the DA at the same time. So therefore, you cannot monitor while using the mic pre's. So you use the mic pre's, and you can use, basically, you attenuate the mic pre's with the same levels you would use to use for the DA. So as a result, you separate the two. Use something else, a different DAC, to monitor through while you're using the Latte's mic pre's. When you're using the DAC on the Latte, you can't use the mic pre's. When you're using the mic pre's, you can't use the DAC. You get what I'm saying? So as a result, I have these two channels here running from the RME UFX3 to go into the Trinnov so that I can basically use the Trinnov as a monitor controller and switch to the UFX3 when I need to monitor through that because I'm using the mic pre's on the Latte. Now that we're in position to groove here, we're going to get grooving. And we'll go from there. So keep in mind, the Trinnov calibrates your speakers. So it really has nothing to do with what's feeding it from either the Latte or the RME. It's not calibrating the DAC. So as a result, you will still hear differences from different DACs. However, the room correction is going on, no matter how you look at it, directly in the Trinnov and has nothing to do with the DAC. I hope that made sense. So anyway, I hope that helped. Trinnov is one of my favorite purchases, along with the Latte. Both of these things are my favorite purchases I've made in a significant amount of time. So sorry about this necklace clicking around. I'll make sure to get rid of that for the next thing. But any questions, leave them in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button. I appreciate it. More stuff to come. Evan Jaffe, Custom Cut Studios. You guys got this. If you have any ideas for videos you want me to make, throw them in the comments. I'd love to hear the ideas. I often take my ideas for videos from what you guys write. So I appreciate you watching. Thanks again. Keep in mind, you guys got this. Evan Jaffe, Custom Cut Studios. Take it easy.